Hey, so let's talk about Sasquatch for a little bit. I went up to Mount Shasta and I was not expecting all of the things that happened. It was an amazing event at the Lemurian Life Expo, and Sasquatches were everywhere. They were everywhere. So I'm driving up to the mountain, and I knew long before I went that they were going to be there. My clan had reached out, and I guess you could say a couple of my clans had reached out and connected and said, "Hey, we're setting up, connections for you." Basically, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know where, when, why, or anything like that. I just knew that they were going to be there, and I know that the area, from what I had been told, is active with their energy. So I go up and I'm driving and I'm flipping frequencies with my third eye, and I'm seeing ships in various dimensions all over the place, seeing different beings, seeing all kinds of stuff, entries into the mountain, those types of things. And I switch to the Sasquatch frequency, and I see pins of light all over the mountain, thousands of them. Sasquatches everywhere. I can feel them. I can see them in my mind's eye. If you think of the mountain like a bird's eye view GPS, I can see, kind of feel where the energy's at, that type of thing. So I go up there and I don't know exactly where I'm staying at. The producer, they hooked me up with a place, a tiny house, and they felt that I should stay in a tiny house. So the audio crew was in a regular house for the Airbnb, and you walked down this path past labyrinth and some other things, and there was this shed in the middle of the property, far, far out, that looked over Shasta, and like just real simple, just a bed inside of it, a couple chairs, and like a wardrobe. That was it, which was perfect for me because I don't, need anything. And when it came to electricity, I have my Jackery for solar power. And so I'm staying there, and all of a sudden, as I'm staying there sleeping, a Sasquatch comes down the mountain and sits right beside the doorway. And he was there every single night. Came down as soon as the sun set. He wouldn't be there until the sun set. Once the sun set, about half hour later, you'd feel him walk out and he would sit right by the doorway. And I asked him why he was there, and he was there for protection in case anything came, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and just guarded the house all night. And by the time the sun came up, he would walk off and disappear into the mountains. What was interesting is not that I could see them, because I'm used to seeing them and feeling them and experiencing them, but I was at the introduction ceremony for the Lemurian Life Expo, and was given like 5 minutes up on stage. Is I had about 5 minutes, they said, and they wanted me to speak on something, and I spoke on unity and love and those types of things. You can see that on my profile, and I believe the introduction is free on their website. I believe it's still free, so you can watch that and what everybody else said and experienced. But I was backstage, and there's a woman there named Heidi Wright, I think might be her last name, but her name was Heidi, and she's connected to animals. She's an animal communicator, and she looks at me, and she's had Sasquatch experiences, and she looks at me and she goes, "You know, is there a Sasquatch around you with a two-syllable name that starts with an S?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Sute." And Sute is from Ohio. They now live in the Appalachians. They moved kind of around the same time I moved. But she's out that way, and she goes, "She's with you right now." And I was like, "Well, that's weird because they don't live here." And then I checked in. I'm like, "Oh, they're astral." She was astrally, energetically with me, not like physically. And it was validating. It was validating to me because the And if you see me doing this, it's like there's flies around. It's validating to me because see, as soon as I said that, one flew in my face. And he's still there. He's playing with the microphone. Hmm, interesting. Uh, it validated because she knew nothing about me. She didn't know my content. She was a presenter. None of the presenters really knew me. They've maybe seen me on a video for the marketing, but that was about it. And so they didn't know my backstory. They hadn't heard the names, all that. And it was just validating that somebody else was able to realize that, yes, Sute was around me, and that it validated them too, because you know, I'm saying, yes, you're right. But she got scolded for like feeling them tapping in, and they were like, we're not here for you, leave us alone, we're with him, type of thing. It was funny because she looks at me and she's like, I just got scolded because I felt them, and then I tried to talk to them and they were like, no, leave us alone, we're here for him, not you. But what was funny is there was another one there too from the mountains, kind of out of phase, standing with us as well. And then what else happened? So we went up to Fairy Falls and did our workshop where I did a bunch of activations. You're going to hear more about that as I do these videos. And the Sasquatches kept saying they were going to be there. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? And they said, we'll stand up on the falls. We won't be where anybody can see us. We don't want to scare them. And so they were there. At one point, one looked over and was waving at me. And I looked up and waved back. I was like, I get it. I see you. I asked if anybody had noticed me do that. Nobody really had. And I was like, yep, they were waving. They were trying to get my attention. And I was trying to ignore them and not bring attention to them because I don't want to direct people's attention. I want them to experience their own thing. But they were up on the falls and we did activations, and one person connected with the Sasquatches, at least one anyway that I know of. And they were sending energy down over the falls. A couple of them were looking, and a couple of them were meditating and sending energy down to activate different people. So then Bailey and I go, and we're going to go to the mountain. We're going to go to Shasta because she hasn't been there yet. And we need to go to Walmart first. She needed to get shoes. But the Walmart that I wanted to go to was on the way to the mountain, kind of a little farther south, but on the way. And for some reason, when we put it in, it took us to a different Walmart that went north away from the mountain. So we weren't supposed to go that night. What was interesting though is on the way back, I could feel a Sasquatch in the car energetically. And I was like, wait, how are you in the car? Like, I'm not, they're there because I'm used to them physically. I'm used to them like being present type of thing. Like you can't get in the car. Like they're too big type of thing. And they went, we're higher dimensional, higher vibrational. So I'm in an energetic space. I went, oh, okay. So you're in the car. And they're like, yeah, we're in the car. Bailey and I hear this loud, piercing whistle inside the car, from inside the car. It's not from outside the windows. It's not from a phone. It's not from anything else. It's inside the car. And we're like, what the heck? And the Sasquatch is kind of like laughing about it. And we realize, oh, it was the energy because they make sounds and they can mimic. It was essentially letting Bailey know it was there because we had been talking about it and whether or not it was really there. And then later, I think that same night, the one came off the mountain, sat by the property, and she noticed it as well. Uh, and then there was a contact event out there, and there were tons of Sasquatches. And what was funny is like four of them were by the tiny house, and people didn't realize like I was out there by the tiny house, and they had been coming down every night to see me, type of thing. So even though I was sick and in the tiny house, they were involved in the contact event as well. And I'm not saying that it was because of me, it was because of the work the contact people were doing, but it was funny because everybody was excited, like Sasquatch was there. And I'm like, I know, I was 200 feet away in the tiny house and they've been coming down every single night. So it was just really cool to see all those Sasquatches. I have to end it there because of time, but I'll go into more on the event soon. Love you all. Grateful for each and every one of you.